What's up, coach? In today's video, we're talking about how to generate high-paying clients from closing sales calls. Are you ready? Let's get started. What's up, coach? I'm Beverly Simpson, owner of B Simpson Fitness and the founder of the PT Profit Formula. In today's video, we're going through how to set up a high converting sales conversation so that you can start generating high ticket, high paying one-on-one custom coaching clients. So if you like this video, go ahead, hit like, let me know down in below in the comments your biggest takeaways, and be sure to share it with your friends. Okay, friends, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out this video where we talk about the 3 pillars and how it synergistically works together to start generating revenue for your business. Also check out this video where we talk about how you can use your content in your social media plan so that you can start generating these leads and book these calls that we're gonna break down today. So if you haven't already, be sure, hit subscribe, hit like, and ding that little bell so that you're notified when the next video comes out. Now, friends, if you haven't already, be sure to go to the page and check out the previous 2 videos where I talked all about what the PT Profit Formula is, how the 3 pillars work synergistically together so that you can start generating revenue in your business. And then also check out the video about how you can use your content on your social media platforms to get them to this point where we're going to talk about in the video today about getting them on this sales call and then converting them from the sales call. So most coaches get really nervous and really sensitive when we start talking about the sales call because most people don't want to feel sleazy and they're worried that they're gonna come off as sleazy salesmen to their ideal customers. And I definitely get that and I understand that. But first we need to just reframe this and recognize that selling is a service. Think about it. We all use our cell phone. We all use our computers. We all use a house. All of these things are typically fundamentals to our living, to our breathing, and they were all things that were purchased. They are also all things that we bought and that they were sold to us. This coffee cup that I'm drinking out of, what prevented me from purchasing a different coffee cup instead of this Starbucks San Francisco cup? This was sold to me. Now, we don't often think about it in those terms, but that's exactly what you are doing when you're putting your products and services out in front of your ideal clients, is even if it's just a free consultation. Because remember, free is not really free because they're still giving you their email and they're giving you their time. And that they cannot, and time you can't get back. So time is a very expensive resource that is being given to you that is often undervalued and overlooked. So this call is designed to help you provide clarity for your clients on what it is they need to do next in order to achieve their goal. Remember, business is simple. Not easy, but it is simple, which attracts the audience that has a problem and then sell them the solution. So when you are presenting the sales call, remember, it's not enough that it's free. It is still an offer. It is still an exchange of time for clarity. That's what the purpose is of this conversation. And when you are presenting this offer using your social media content, you are positioning this sales call as exactly that. This is an opportunity. It is an offer, and they will walk away with a promise of that call. They will walk away with clarity on what to do next. If you've checked out those previous videos, we've talked about traffic and we've talked about turning them into leads, and now we're going to turn them into customers. So all your content is designed to create engagement, to cultivate community, and it is designed to share an experience. And now when we offer them the chance to exchange email and time for a conversation, a sales call, or a strategy session, this is when they become a lead. This person has raised their hand and they have said yes to getting help from you. And now in this process, which another word for it is sales mechanism, in this process, we will convert them into a customer. And each step of the way is just creating demand for the next step. You are creating demand and training the click. Now, this is true whether you are in an online business or a brick and mortar business. While you're not training the click, you are training the next step, the next yes, the next commitment. So this sales call, we're gonna break it down into 4 steps. And I want you to know a lead becomes a customer when they go from this is interesting to I need it now, and I can do it. And in order to get your customer into that mindset, you need to know where they want to be, which is the goal. You need to know what is preventing them from getting there, what they've tried and how long they've been trying it, which is the objection and the struggle. And then you need to know what becomes possible to them when they achieve their goal, because this is the value. This is the why. This is what people will fall back on when they get demotivated or when they get tired or when they don't want to. It's the why. And so you need to know that, because you'll use the values to overcome the objection and demonstrate that you can get them to the goal. So let's break up this sales call in 4 steps. Now you can ask those questions in an application, in the conversation in the DM. You can be fueled with these answers to the questions before you get to the call. You can ask them in a DM poll. Like, once again, the 3 questions are, what's the goal? What's preventing you from achieving the goal? How long have you been working on it? What becomes possible for you when you achieve the goal? You need to know that. So either know that beforehand or ask. So this is going to lead me into the 4 quadrants or the 4 steps of a high converting sales call. Number 1, you need to ask open-ended questions. This is very important. Most coaches, especially when they have done a lot of studying, they do one of 2 things. Is they already assume that they know the struggle because they've done so many sales calls or they've worked with so many people. So they assume that everyone's coming from the same spot, or they assume that they already know what the potential client is going to say. The second thing that a lot of trainers do is that they just want to teach because they want to prove, they want to show that they're an authority, and I get that. But that's not going to be why someone purchases from you. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust. You will get the chance to show that you are an authority, but spewing how smart you are to them is not going to be how you show authority. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is ask them some open-ended questions, specifically on what the goal is and what the struggle is, and just get them to start talking. You're doing this for 2 reasons. Number 1, you need to listen and you need to really pay attention to what they're saying. Because I listened recently to someone who said that listening is just an extension of loving, and people want to feel like they are heard. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to open up that sense of communication, and you will instantly build rapport, and
instantly build a sense of trust when you can show someone that you are actively listening and paying attention. So how do you do that? Just recap what they say after you ask them the open-ended question.
Okay, just a quick recap on where we're going. This point of the sales call, the sales mechanism, is to help provide clarity and offer a solution to help your client go from point A to point B. And so what we're going to need for the sales mechanism are a couple of things. And there are two ways that we can do it. We can go right into the sales call and ask these questions that we're about to go through. You could do a application page, or you could do a pre-call to just qualify whether or not this is an ideal client and a potential real customer. But remember, business is simple in the sense that we are attracting an ideal client with a problem, and we are going to offer them a solution and sell them the solution to the problem. In order to do that, there are some key things that we need to know. So either you find this out in the sales call or you find this out in the application. But what we need to know is where they are, what they want, what the goal is, what they're currently struggling with, what's preventing them from getting there. And then we need to know what becomes possible for them when they achieve the goal, because that's going to elicit the value. That's going to get from them the reason why they have this goal. You'll need to know their values in order to overcome the objections. So those are three main questions that you can get from your clients or from your potential clients before you do this call, either in a pre-call or you can do it in a application. Regardless, it's something that you want to know, and if you don't know it going into this sales call, then let's get that information right in the sales call. Okay, so there are 4 things that we want to know when we are going into the sales call. So I want you to think of this as a pre-qualification as to whether or not this person is a serious applicant or not. You can do this either in your DM conversation, you could do it in an application, you can do it in a pre-call. Regardless, we want to qualify this lead to ensure that this person is at least serious about transforming their life. I don't want you to think of this call as trying to find out, oh, can they or can they not afford it? Because remember, price is only one component of the offer. What we're really looking for is how committed they are and how much pain they are in and why they haven't solved it, and how much pain they are in and how committed they are to changing it. That's what we want to know. So these pre-questions are designed to weed out the people that just want to pick your brain, or they just want a quick fix, or they want a workout. No. We want to get more specifically into the root of where they're coming from, what their goals are, and what they're struggling with. So here are the 4 main things I want you to get from them, either in an application or a pre-call or a DM, or we can do it right at the beginning of the sales call. So what you want to know is, what's the goal? Where do they want to be? We want to know what they're struggling with, what's prevented them from getting there. And then we want to know how long they've been working on it and how committed they are to getting it fixed. Another way of looking at it is how much pain they are in that they're not where they want to be. Then the 4th thing that we want to know is what becomes possible for them when they achieve this goal, because that is eliciting the value. So quick recap. What's the goal? We need to work backwards from there. This is the desired position. Number 2, what's preventing them from getting there? What's the struggle? This is the objection. Then the 3rd is, how long have they been working on it? How committed are they? This is the pain point. And the reason why we need to know this is because people move farther away from pain faster than they move towards pleasure. Let me just say that again. People will move away from pain faster than they do when moving towards pleasure. So a lot of people, a lot of trainers and coaches, they want to talk about all the joys and the pleasures and the achieving the goal really wanting to avoid talking about the pain. That the pain is very important because people will move away from pain faster. And then the fourth thing is the value. What becomes possible? Why are you working on this goal? Now we can start breaking down the flow of the sales call. The first is the frame. So remember in earlier videos when we talked about the brain is looking for authority, looking for what's new, what's unique, and what's revolutionary. Well, setting up the frame of the call is a very important part because it will demonstrate authority when you take the reins of what a person can expect from this call. Plus, it will feed that urge to teach. Now, most trainers that I have worked with, constantly when they feel nervous, they want to teach because they want to demonstrate authority. This is why we're setting it up in the frame. But we're not going to be teaching how smart we are. Instead, we're just going to be setting the expectations and boundaries for what's going to happen in this call. It will demonstrate authority and it will also ease everybody's nerves because guess what? Everyone's nervous on this call. Now we're going to get into the ask and listen component. So if you have not done the pre-call, you have not elicited that information yet, awesome. This is the opportunity for you to ask these questions. So you want to ask the questions, you want to ask open-ended questions. What is the goal? Let them talk and just listen. Find out what has prevented them from achieving it, find out how much pain they're in, and find out what becomes possible. Now notice, all open-ended questions start with what, why, how. And then your job becomes to listen. First rule in sales, whoever talks first loses. So it's important that you listen, and people just want to be heard. In fact, I just watched a IGTV video about how the language of listening is also the language of love. So when you can stop, listen, and pay attention to someone who's pouring their heart out and they're in pain, when they're talking about their problem. This is a painful experience for them. Being present is going to automatically build rapport. It's going to build that know, like, and trust factor, and you have a higher chance of converting them into a customer. Plus, when you are listening and paying attention, you will be able to use the language that they are using and use it back at them to overcome objections, which will demonstrate to them that you are listening. That's how they know when you are listening, when you are not talking, and when you can actually recap and say the words back to them that they were saying to you. So that leads us to the next section of the call, which is just a recap of what it is that you heard. Now, just that simple fact alone, when you recap to them in a way that is clear and concise, you will provide them clarity on what their struggle is. Because sometimes when they're just talking about it, they're in it. And you get to be the mirror and say, this is what I heard. This is what the problem is. And sometimes just hearing it back will provide so much clarity to them. Then the next part of the conversation is the transition. I have something that can help you with that. Would you like to hear it? Now, the next part is the transition. Transition starts with an empathizing. I understand. Acknowledge that you hear them. Let them know you're on the same page. And if you're talking to someone who you don't have any experience with their problem, or you have no context for what they're struggling with, you can say something as simple as, if I were you, I'd feel the exact same way. Why? Because that's what they said. And if you were them, you'd be going through the same thing. So just a little bit of acknowledgement, empathy is going to go a long way. And then you can go into the next phase Then you can go into the transition. Now the transition, here is where you get to do some teaching, but not a lot of teaching. This is not the place where you're solving the problem. This is where you're just shedding some light on the clarity, and then you are telling them what the next steps are. This is when you're gonna say, this is what, based on what you told me, this is what's really gonna help you. And you're gonna give them the what and the why. The how is going to be your program. And this is where you get to say, I can help you with that. Would you like to hear more about it? And if they'll say yes, and if they say yes, then we can transition to the next part of the sales conversation, which is the offer. Now remember, the offer is not the price. The offer is the promise of a transformation, plus the process and the irresistible price. The price that matches the value of solving 10 times the problem. And once you say it, we don't talk, we listen. And then we go into the last part of the sales conversation, which is overcoming the objections. And there will be objections. Think of it like this. When you go shopping and you go into a store, maybe it's just going into a store for the first time, the salesperson comes up to you and says, hey, can I help you with anything? A person's natural instinct is to say, oh no, it's cool, I got it, I'm good. But then you get into trying clothes on, and all of a sudden you're there, hello, hi, I need help. Or how about when you go to a cocktail party and your friend says, you walk in and your friend says, hey, can I get you a drink? Your first inclination is to say, no, I'm good. Sit down, settle, and then ask for the drink, oftentimes. So it's normal. So you are going to need to overcome objections. So how do you overcome objections? Well, there are 4 main ones: the time, money, and I have to think about it, I have to talk to my spouse. So typically when I'm dealing with time, I will ask questions. So let's start with the big one, the money. I can't afford it. 2 big ways to overcome the money objection is knowing your ascension model and saying things like, I completely understand. Always empathize with the objection. I get it, I understand. Now, there are so many different ways that you can overcome the objection of money, but let's just start here. There's so many different ways you can overcome the objection of money. So let's just quickly start here, which is someone says, I can't afford it. You're always going to acknowledge that you've heard it. I get it. I understand. It's definitely an investment in your health. But before I let you walk away today, you clearly have a budget in mind. So if you were to spend money on your health today, how much would you spend? That's one way that you can do it. Another way that you can do it is put it back on you and say, I completely understand that it is definitely an investment in your health. But before I let you walk away, I'm curious, is it that you really can't afford it? Or is it that I have not communicated the value and the importance of not signing up and getting started today? And if they say things like, it's just so expensive, I always say, I get it, I understand that, but just so I'm clear, it's expensive compared to what? Because then you're gonna get an idea as to what it is they were thinking it was going to cost. Because people are always having that pricing conversation in their brain all the time. The second objection that often happens is, I have to think about it. And so here is a clarifying question for you, which is, I get it, I completely understand, but I wanna make sure that I answer any and all questions before I let you walk away today. So what is it that you are thinking about? Get into what it is specifically that they are thinking about, what it really is that they are working on. The third objection, time. Oh, I just don't have time right now. I'm really busy. Always empathize so that you hear them. Yes, I completely understand. I get it. And then you're gonna say, how will you know when you have the right amount of time? Because have you considered that there's never feels like there's the right time. And then the fourth one, which is I need to talk to my spouse. So there's three things that you can do. Number one, you can, in that pre-call, make sure that all financial decision parties are on the call so that everyone's on the call with you. You can, so that's one thing that you can do. Or if you're in the moment and they say that, you're going to ask them, I completely understand, empathize, always empathize and acknowledge that you've heard them. I get it, I'm married to these types of investments. I like to have these conversations with my spouse too. Your spouse isn't in the room right now with us and hasn't shared with me all of the things that you have shared with me on your journey. And so you want to get them on the call. So either you're going to ask to call them or you're going to reschedule for both of you to come onto the call so you can answer any questions the spouse might have. It's also important to pre-ask this question so that you have an inclination, you have an idea as to whether or not this spouse is supportive. Now, you can also overcome this objection, the spouse objection, depending on whether or not you ask this question in the beginning or ask this question in the pre-call, which was, if you know whether or not this spouse is supportive or not, you can use that language and you can say, remember back in the beginning of this call when you told me that you felt like your spouse wasn't on board, or you felt like your spouse didn't understand where you were coming from. Perhaps it'd be better if I spoke to your spouse to help provide some clarity around what it is you're going through. When is a good time to call you tomorrow and get you both on the phone? Or call the spouse right then. And those are just a couple ways to overcome the objection. You're gonna have multiple objections, which is a good thing. It's normal. I usually stay with at least overcome 3 objections and then let them go, and then go and they either become a customer, and if they say no, it just means not right now. So they either become a customer or you move them to following up, and you keep following up with them every few weeks or so and just checking in to see where they are. A 5th bonus question that you can ask either in the application or in the pre-call or at the beginning of this call is, describe what type of support you've received on achieving your goal from your friends, family, and or spouses, if any. And then get them to talk about the type of support that they have or have not had from their spouse. And you'll be able to use the answer to that question to overcome the I need to talk to my spouse objection that you might get at the end of the sales call. All right, if you like this video or you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. But if you haven't already, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and tap that bell to be notified on the next video.